I want to actually have an early morning talk with the stream and discuss things. But more important to this is your eye color. So how are we going to do this? Do you have like a flashlight, a lamp, something you could just a white screen you can open on Google and just have like illuminate your face?
That I could probably
There you
do.
go. Wow. That was like turning a flashlight on. Okay.
Now, what am I supposed to just
I
like
don't know,
open
get
my
your
eye
eye
and like
close enough
go
to get.
right?
Well, don't make it super gross like we're dissecting your eyeball. You're like,
Oh, it's gonna be really hard to do.
you're just like, all right.
Oh God.
Okay,
Um,
give it a
is it
sec.
working?
This is weird how close you are to the camera. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, okay, maybe even I'm gonna concede right now. This does look greener than I'll give you credit for.
I wish I could check.
I blame the screen. Clearly, you open up a web page that's reflecting green dots onto your eyes. So, this has been compromised. Crump Pancake, thank you for the 19-month resub. ACK, shake. But if the chat decides definitively that's green enough, I'll stick with green. Then I won't ever contest it. But real talk with the chat here for a moment, guys. All right, I wanna be able to do this with you guys. Unfortunately, it's on a delay, right? So I'm not even gonna see your responses by the time we're probably like on break and waiting for the next game. But I want to do this as best I can with trying to remove myself from the situation. So pretend for just one moment, okay? Pretend for just like 1 second. I'm not riffing from BaseTradeTV. I don't have a hidden agenda because I really don't. I don't have like greed out the wazoo seeping from my eyes. Okay, they just pretend I'm Joe Schmo asking
Okay,
a
blue or
question.
green eyes?
They're brown because I'm full of shit. That's what I've been told my whole life. Um, there's obviously been a lot of flack about G2A explicitly. It's kind of annoying because for me, as again, this is not riffing on BaseTradeTV from it. This is just me as like some nameless broadcasters trying to put on content. Um, it's another thing on this list of just like 50. It's like every week it's a new reason to hate on BaseTradeTV and fabrication of this versus that versus G2A versus anything else. So it's kind of hard for me to take these complaints seriously, but the day our subscribers to the channel, I think, have a lot of. There are even a couple subscribers who have voiced their opinions about G2A. But whether it's Corsair or G2A or Chairs for Gaming or Yord or anything we pick up in the future, like until we start hearing something from our subscribers, I care very little what Reddit's going to have to say. I care very little what Twitter's going to have to say, because it's you guys who really support us at the end of the day. We don't really get a lot of donations like other streamers, right? You see people like get $100 donations, $50 donations. Hell, sometimes even $10 donations feel like a lot. And this isn't bait, okay? I want to really, again, this is why I'm trying to say that I'm talking not as riffing from BaseTradeTV, okay, guys? So this isn't complaints or whining or baiting to get donations. But the reality is we don't get this the same way other streamers do. So if there's alternatives to sponsors, if it's something where like we've got higher ad revenue or more subscribers for it, then like I would drop things like G2A in a heartbeat. But at the rate things are going, it was a little bit harsh to read. I think Total Biscuit, or maybe I'm misremembering who wrote it, because again, there's like 50 Reddit threads yesterday. Someone had said like if you need G2A or if you need any other type of sponsor to survive, and you can't without them, and I'm not saying we couldn't, we probably could, but you can't without them, then StarCraft deserves to die, or the content deserves to die, or something along those lines. Paraphrasing, because again, I don't remember who said it or where it was written, but that really got me thinking on things. Like, I guess I understand and empathize that point of view, but for what we do, I don't know. It's not to say that the ends justify the means, but a lot of my focus goes into like we're helping players out, we're putting on content for you guys. I get to make this my job instead of fucking being a security guard, which sucks so bad. And the question, I guess, to end this discussion is like, put yourself in our shoes for a moment. Pretend that you want that this is your priority, not the sponsor part of it, okay? Not even the anything like that. But like, pretend that you want to put on StarCraft 2 content. Pretend that you want to put on whatever content, even maybe your heart's not Hearthstone, StarCraft. Maybe it's Hearthstone or Overwatch. I don't know. What do you do in this situation? Because for me, nothing really said through again Reddit or anything's gonna. There's somebody who every thread is like, if we keep making enough noise, BaseTradeTV is gonna cave to peer pressure, social justice, Attica, and none of that really affects me. For now, my point of view is really just like on what the subscribers feel and say, and if they're enjoying the content and they're not worried about this, that, and the other, then neither am I. That's sort of my logic. So, I don't know. I don't really have a big point to this. I just wanted to discuss it and get my thoughts out there because this has been such a popular topic, I guess, over the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on the
I
because I love, again, by the way, it's not Rifkin, it's not Zombie Grub, it's Rifkin is a brutal Nazi for accepting super shady money, which again, it just gets old that I'm always the one taking all the blame.
I would say that most people are saying BaseTradeTV.
I wouldn't. You should see some of the tweets I have. I actually started blocking people yesterday.
Sure. Real quick, Mamuri versus GuMiho is ready, but Mamuri needs 1 minute. I don't know, my focus has always been, I guess, on more the people that like the G2A and the morality and whatever on that. Like that could be like a 45-minute blog on that, I suppose. But
oh, you
I
got
can't
down
believe
that precise?
Yeah, exactly. Like 44 minutes, I think, to be precise. But anyway,
4.5 repeating.
It is those people that like, I don't know, they say that like it doesn't matter if they need it or not, but their argument always seems to be like they don't need it. And we talked about that yesterday. There's a whole thing that Total Biscuit said like if they can't survive without it, then it shouldn't survive and blah blah blah. But
was it Total Biscuit? I actually couldn't remember who said that. Like,
I'm pretty sure it was him that said it in some other thread that wasn't actually related to us, I think. It was like a general G2A thread, I believe. But anyway, just like the people that don't believe us when we say that, like, you know, we use this money to help and whatnot. Like, because then it starts off with like, okay, they need to cut their own salary, but then like it's like, oh, they actually have like a really good salary, or like they actually make a lot of money, and they're lying to us, and that their sub money is all going to their secret mansion they're building or some shit. And I just like. I've been in the same room for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Calm down there. So
but people, that's the other thing too. Like, somehow it becomes like an open discussion, start discussing finances, and I mean, putting it out there, guys. I have to pay for. Well, I'm an adult, so I pay for most things. I got rent, I got internet, I got phone, internet, which costs way too much, by the way, to provide a very basic service. Phone bills. I got this stupid mouth thing that's cost me $350 a month now as well. I mean, so a little bit of a sad backstory. We're still waiting. As soon as they're good to go, we'll shut up and get in the game, right? I've always wanted a bike since I was little, and it took me years to get to this point where I could even afford to save up for it. And this is not a woe is me moment. It's not. But the context here is that, like, for 1 year, I've been putting about like $45 to $50 aside a month to try and save up for this bike that I got yesterday. I was super duper happy, but oh man, rolling my eyes with like disgust that people are like, because I tweeted about it. I was so happy that you understand this is I never had a bike as a kid type thing, right? So, tweet about it, super excited, childhood dream finally come true type thing, and I'm just getting shit from people like, oh, your dirty money, but you that bicycle, blah blah blah, not your hard-earned earnings that you saved up for a year and a half for. And even then, I almost considered not buying it and just putting that money towards my medical expenses. Like, I'm not trying to make a sad story where it's like we need money and like blah blah blah, because let's be honest, everybody needs money. That's just the world for you. But I don't know, never have I felt more frustrated with, I guess, public reaction to
it
things.
feels, yeah, I mean, it does feel very targeted, I guess, is also the thing. Like, it's like, hey guys, like, I know we hate on Navillo for about a week, but we got nothing new. Hey, remember we don't like G2A? Remember we don't like BaseTradeTV? Oh my god, they're sponsored by G2A. Like, let's hate them for reals. Like, there's like a very like chain reaction that it's like, oh, okay, but like these other people are also like, but no one's talking about. Okay,
Yeah,
feels bad, man. So yeah, not to use like the blame card, like everyone's doing it, let's all jump off a bridge, but it does feel very targeted. So it's kind of just at the point where like, yeah, exactly, we listen to you
I
guys, but like to go to Reddit would actually just be like a dumb idea to get our
I
discussion going about this.
I always hated that logic, by the way, because your parents would say if everybody was jumping off a bridge, I mean, you'd go do it with this idea that you weren't supposed to do what everyone else is doing, right? But nobody regularly jumps off a bridge, so by that logic, are you supposed to then go jump off a bridge? Like,
If everyone's not jumping off a bridge and you should be unique,
exactly.
then you should go jump off a bridge. I mean, that's how people get to be YouTube stars, right?
Thanks, Mom and Dad. All right. But pure pressure stuff aside, in the bottom right, to kick off this Olimoleague best of 3, it is going to be the blue Terran player, GuMiho.
In the top left, as the pink Zerg, it is Mamuri. And my last thought on that actually is more of a funny thing than like a morality thing. It's that, someone made that thread with your Twitter responding, and Total Biscuit responded himself with like, it wasn't really shots fired. I just mentioned something in a shit post. And I was like, that's why I don't understand why someone made a thread about it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hungry.
The context
Like-
on that, by the way, guys, is I literally just said, like, Total Biscuit's allowed to have his own opinions and I don't care. Man, I had so many people message me on Skype yesterday. You can probably guess who a couple of them were.
Okay, yeah, I can. I already know this one.
But, like, it was just disgusting. People trying to cash in on this drama. Everyone's so thirsty for just, like, creating
really.
stuff out of nothing.
It is.
I think that almost feels like a bigger issue than anything else.
It really does. Like an actual discussion where they're like, yeah, I don't really approve of it, but like I can see like they're side, like blah blah blah, like that is different than what Reddit usually does when they're doing right now. Them as a whole, whatever. But anyways, you know what I mean, like the shit posters and the terrible people on it. But that barcode guy, man, like I have a serious bone with that guy, bone to pick with that guy. Like he just goes around, he pretends that he likes us sometimes when I confront him, and then he goes back around and just like shit posts. And I swear he's the idiot who pretended to be a Korean, and he's still just like masquerading as some guy that knows his shit.
Yeah.
And he's really not. He just like reads up like anyone else and pretends that he knows a lot of shit. So I hate reading all of his posts. He has not responded to me confronting him for the 4th time. He just gave up after I was like, no, I'm pretty sure you're lying. He just was like,
well. So. I want to put an end to the off-topic stuff with this one final comment on it. It's just saying that if you guys, at the end of the day, I don't think we ever try to push something and say like, oh, please, we really need you to support us. Check out this sponsor. We try to just be truthful advertising and say like, look, go here if you want this. But at that point, it's your own decision on whether you buy products or not. So for those of you on the channel, again, just whether it's wood watches or video games or wherever you're getting your jollies off here to support the channel, do it for you. Don't do it because you're trying to support BaseTradeTV. And just thank you for those who do support us either way. Nice surround, Adam Mamuri catches that Reaper.
Yeah, this actually turns to an interesting startup here. I mean, a Hellbat attack is not unheard of, although it is less common than it was in Heart of the Swarm. But the Baneling, I don't think it's a response.
Well,
I think he just was gonna try and Baneling one, but I don't know. He's making drones, so I don't know.
It's strange to see Hellbats, or rather this choice for them on this map, because Apotheosis is pretty damn long. I mean, Hellions are fast, don't get me wrong, but as you can see, this doesn't have a lot of power to it.
I think what he wants to do is, follow up maybe into like a mech build, because GuMiho is that type of guy that does that, and Apotheosis can be a mech map.
If GuMiho's gonna play mech, I'm gonna have a really good time with this game.
Yeah. As you can see, this isn't like a very typical. The typical Hellbat all-in attack is accompanied by a medevac with Marines, and your point about the how big the map is certainly true. But this is a very light pressure. Again, I'm really curious as to why Mamuri threw down this really super early Baneling nest, because I don't think he scouted anything suspicious until now. I mean, now I got a full scout, but. I guess he just saw Hellions, was like, I'd better have the Banelings, but he never had to make them, so I don't know.
Shout out to Arvid GP, by the way. Says, yo, I feel great saying I can finally afford subscribing to BaseTradeTV. Been a student for many years, watching now, and working and supporting. Well, thank you and congratulations. Shout out to Silverwind as well, who just subbed, and Dominch, sorry we missed it, dude. A $10 donation says, fine. If you want it that much, you can have a donation.
Thanks. Oh
See,
man, I really.
that's why I always get a little bit actually uncomfortable talking about that stuff because I don't want people to think we're trying to bait like a donation out of a topic like that. I know Dimension's being a jokester because he is a mod here on the channel. We love him, but that should not have happened. That was a bit of a mistake out of GuMiho.
It was for surezies. But yeah, agreed on that. So it's not mech. He started this +1 plating so early. I was like, okay, I can see that being on purpose. He's gonna go to mech. You know, it's a little weird to see, plating, but no, he's not. He's going to bio, and I'm confused.
Yeah, so I was really keen and hoping, fingers crossed, that we'd see something mech. I only bring this up because, not actually because of GuMiho's history of playing mech, but that series where Stefano and Euthermal played, he really did. Like, Euthermal made unsieged tanks look very enticing. Like, surprisingly good versus Ultras type thing. And that may have been, I thought, where he was heading in this, but not the case. As we can see, 1-1, stim, all these things going to be finishing up. Production set up for bio, and I guess this was just a bit of an odd opening, if we're going to be honest. It's pretty much all I'd really call it.
Odd. Yeah. I don't really... Like, a Hellion opener into bio, very, like, Heart of the Stormish, right? It's not terrible. Although without Banshee, it can be, like, countered with a Roach. But I don't think on this map. But it wasn't, so it doesn't matter. But the way, like, the upgrade on the armory just feels like he almost misclicked. Like, he meant to... I actually can't think of what he would have misclicked, though. Like, he tried to build a tech lab, but it was, like, a hotkey on the armory or something. I have no idea, but... it will technically help out his Medivacs, or his Hellbats, rather. And that's cool, I guess. He's using Hellbats, so... Sure.
I mean... There's a lot of pros to this when it comes to just dealing with massive amounts of lings. I think Hellbats could be better than Widow Mines. We've talked about this a lot in the past, but to bring it up again, they're more guaranteed damage rather than higher potential for explosive crazy damage. They'll soak up bailing hits. I mean, use them while you can. It's kind of cool to see, but unfortunately, as we can see, the army at home from Mamuri, it's not really gonna mind whether it's Hellbats or Marauders or anything really.
Yeah, he has a very mixed army. He got the Bailing so early, and GuMiho saw that, and was probably, if I had to guess, he thought it was going to be Mutilating Bling. But the Roaches are a bit of a surprise here. So now he knows a bit better, I think, what the composition is. He's getting tanks now. Okay, yeah, that'll help against either one, but I think that is a better thing to go for than the Hellbats here. But also ship weapons. And I'm just like, okay... We see ship weapons in this matchup enough times, because eventually you go into Liberators, but it still feels so early. I mean, there's no second starport, and he still wants to build, I think, a few more Medivacs. It's not like they're going to benefit from the weapons. So it's just very odd.
I know that we're not going that direction. That if anything, it's Liberators and all this goodness, but I always sit there with my hopes in the back pocket of every cast, like, Hyperflight Rotor Banshees, maybe?
Oh yeah, you're saying it's a pretty good thing.
The only reason I bring this up, actually, is not just because of, like, my weird perversion for how much I love those, but this map actually doesn't seem like it'd be bad for it, especially with the way the base layout goes and the terrain. Like, Hyperflight Rotor Banshees, I think, would be fantastic at doing crazy amounts of run-bys on Apotheosis of all the new maps. Better than Galactic Process, for certain.
That's interesting. I don't know, because the farther you expand, I think it'll always be great to have something that is running around and killing stuff. But there's not a ton of area behind the bases, so if you do try and get like to the third base, and then try and get to the main, I don't think it'd be that easy. I don't know.
It's less about that to me, and more about the fact that if you've got one drop over here and the Hyperflight Rotor Banshees over here, they're both going to do damage.
Yeah, but then that's where a second drop could also just put in.
So that's actually where I'm not sold on that, because we do see a lot of Infestors, see a lot of Ravagers. I mean, this style is not quite Snoot or Nurture, right? But it is that similar thought process where fungal growth kills a drop. That's a lot of friggin' supply down the drain. Fungal growth kills 2 Banshees. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not trying. By the way, guys, I'm sorry. I want to make this clear. Like, I'm not suggesting strategy, and I'm not trying to tell GuMiho how to play or anything like that. I'm just hypothesizing because we've been seeing lots of experimentation with the matchup and things changing ever since Zerg have finally started to adapt. It's no longer like rushing ultras, although I think that's still the end goal.
Yeah. Well, regardless of that, it was Liberators, but I say was because he used one, got cleaned up, and made, you know, one other one because it was a reactor. He still has 6 medevacs, and he's building more medevacs again here, but like he has one from the armory, and it just looks so odd. I mean, it's not even his tank attack, right? So it's not like it's helping against the lings, so it's... I don't know.
Once upon a time it did, though. Once upon a time it did.
Hey, yeah, those are the days, right?
Oh, this is
the medevacs. Oh, the tanks.
Yeah.
Oh, the medevacs. Well, all those
Banelings?
banelings. There's still quite a bit of an army behind this.
Yeah, and you know, the bio, as we witnessed in that insane game of Snoop versus Beyond, showed us just how quickly Ravagers and Infestors fall apart when they lose that frontal lining, when they lose the fungal growths.
That's another fungal growth to go, but that is still a lot of bio for sure. The rally is not the fastest,
This is good for GuMiho, I think.
Of bio. He's just building bio now, despite the upgrades to his armory.
Well, so here's the problem, right? We got Ultras, we got Guidance Plating, you know, that bomb's ticking away, and maybe GuMiho wins the game just before the Ultras pop, but once those do come out, this army, which he's already struggling to deal with, becomes a lot harder. Now, he does snip off one of the Infestors, good start, 4 more behind it. Not many Banelings, any Banelings, really. Fungal Growth's perhaps the most dangerous thing to look out for. Fungal does come down, of course, the Bowser guaranteed to hit, so we do see some units fall off. But now the Ultras are out, and this might be what Mamuri needs to push this back.
Plating still isn't done, and GuMiho might be clicking on them to check. Now, because he did start his upgrades so early, his Liberators, you know, when he finally builds them, and he's building them again here, I mean, they will be upgraded. That's great, but it's been a very odd opener and a very odd mid-game with those upgrades, because you got to consider how early he got them. They cut something, you know, like they cut that combat shield, for instance, which only finished like with the 2-2, where they delayed like a barracks or something like that, right? Like, there's a reason you don't see those upgrades so early, but GuMiho may be planning on getting to the late game and started it a bit early. He gets a Ghost Academy very quickly. Still no second starport, which is a little bit odd since he is still upgrading his Liberators. But yeah, he got a 4th base, he's getting a 5th now. He is set up for the late game, but maybe one could argue he could have pushed a little bit harder in the mid game if he hadn't done this weird opener with his weird upgrades.
Yeah, I'm still really curious. I mean, I'm not convinced that the upgrades are going to get him killed. Like, the difference between a victory and a loss is not going to be that 1-1 versus like a 2-0 or no upgrades. But it is odd. And the opening I'm actually a lot more intrigued with, because it was a really weird and awkward long map to do Hellbats on in any variety. Queen's barely going to get away. Top right, that's a lot of medevacs that do have a lot of units in them. Thank God there's no mutas, but as he comes in, there's going to be Infestors looking for Fungals.
Yeah, Doom Drop just is very rarely the best option.
This is like the biggest distraction you could ask for, though. I mean, I don't think Mamuri's going to be pushing out, so Ghost should get made no problem. 2 bases, 2 command centers. I mean, I'm not saying that this is a great thing, but it's kind of working out for GuMiho.
No, yeah, I think that's true. Like, as long as you're not dying, then yeah, sure, continue scaring Mamuri. But he could have, you know, it's just arguable that he could do it with 2 medevacs instead of like 5. But of course he can't leave now because there's just not a lot of dead space on this map.
Not a lot of anti-air either, so Liberat's just gonna float on in, kill one of the queens. We get some drone kills too, which would be nice.
But Aspire is on the way. That's another thing that the I feel like the medevacs reminded him of. Like, oh, okay, maybe we should get Aspire, because you know Mamuri's been banking quite a lot this entire game. There was almost no reason not to have Aspire earlier.
He focuses it down.
Nice. He gets the Corruptors though, which is the most important thing. Like, eventually he want to get to Broodlords, and that's fine. But dealing with the medevacs and then of course dealing with the Liberators, need those Corruptors.
Quick shout-outs go to Dimin. She donates another $10, so thank you very much. And he says, don't worry, love, as a single mother of 3, I have a lot of disposable income. Nothing about that message makes any sense.
At first I was going to go Tracer with it, you know? Don't worry, love.
No, okay. So, the fact that Dimin's is not a single mother of 3 aside for just a moment, I don't think a single mother of 3 has disposable income. I think a single mother of 3 probably is going crazy shopping at the thrift store because she's trying to deal with 3 kids on her own.
Maybe she's a single mother, but her family is a rich oil
Whoa, whoa,
baron.
whoa, whoa, whoa! I did not realize just how many ghosts have been bulked up. We're looking at them, but that's nine. We have
He
19 ghosts in
was,
play.
yeah, he was making I think 4 at a time from those tech labs. So
Yeah.
it was funny to look back and be like, oh, that's a lot of ghosts. But yeah, that doesn't necessarily surprise me. Like those doom drops really did buy a lot of time. He hasn't been harassed until like just now the Ling's coming in here. So Mamuri maybe a little surprised too.
Well,
That's where the fungals really got a hit.
right, so we should probably talk about this a little bit because we don't really see Terran get to this point. The last time we saw this many ghosts in play, it was like a laughable effort from Beyond. If you recall that one game versus, I think it was like True or something. But ghosts are so good against anything they can actually get the snipes on. Brood Lords, Ultras, doesn't matter. If they get the snipes off, then boom, ghosts are going to win. That's where things like Fungals, Lings, and Banelings start coming into play. For those who don't know how the mechanic works, Ghost Snipe gets canceled by any damage taken. So if you've got Fungal Growth ticking on you, if you got a Baneling that splashes nearby, Ling's auto attack, none of those really awesome overpowered snipes are actually going to go off.
Oopsie.
Scumbag would have
Yeah. They also, even though they do okay against Lings, Masslings are still a problem. And yeah, the Banelings roll in and the Ghosts on the front lines, you know, same deal as the Fungals, except they actually die too. So it's still a tricky composition for both parties, actually. Very dangerous.
26 damage a shot is not to be underestimated, that's for certain. But I don't know, we actually even see a nuke get invested into. We're going to have double Nidus Worms, not an accident, on purpose. This is kind of cool.
I really like it. I mean, Mamuri, as I stated 2-3 minutes ago, has been banking since almost the beginning. But has been banking for quite a while. Nidus Worms will definitely help out. The one problem that we see from Burns and Snoot style, which Mamuri won't have the same troubles with, but is that he doesn't have any harassment opportunities. Like, the Lings aren't upgraded. He doesn't even make any Lings, and that's something that he could definitely, like, that people who do upgrade their melee and go for Lings have, is they'll have these options of taking down even planetaries with mass upgraded Lings. They'll have the option of Nidus Worms a bit better, because I think floods of Lings from a Nidus Worm is always going to be scarier than, like, you know, 10 roaches coming out. They just don't get into all the crevices as like Lings do. And a Juno Glen Lings, of course, tear things down so much quicker than roaches can too.
Oh, the Banelings get popped off so early. But the planetary still goes down.
Yeah,
the Corruptors would have caustic sprayed it too, so I mean that was going to die.
Yeah, that was too much of a commitment. But it's not something that GuMiho needs to cry river over. He does have extra command centers. His army is arguably better until it gets fungal or Lings get on top of it.
Okay. Double Nidus is heading to the main. Looks silly. Gonna unload units hella quick. Ghost getting snipes off. Fungal's trying to cancel those snipes, but there's so many ghosts in play, and normally this is not a position where Terran player has a bank. Ghosts are incredibly expensive units, so I'm surprised, but this is where you really start getting at a Terran. You get on top of their production. This is how you shut them down.
Oh, main fight goes down. I really think there's actually some good Fungals in there, but
even then, there's not much. I mean, the Liberators will set up. He'll be able to snipe off the Ravagers. I love that he target fired the Ravagers over the Ultras, actually. I think that was a really smart choice there. Now as he gets some shots on the Ultras. No EMPs on top of the Infestors is a mistake, however. Cloak comes into play.
The Lings are cleaned up in the main base, and Mamuri is spending quite a lot of his bank on more Ultras.
He's sniping the Infestors individually instead of EMPing, which is not a terrible choice. As we see, the fungal growths do reveal the Cloak Ghost, but now the Overseers are in play, no more Infestors left, might not even matter. Trying to nuke, that was kind of funny.
Build a Spire, he did. Okay, so he cleans that up. It looks like he lost... did he... Command Center?
Looks like, yeah, the Command Center actually went down if you hit Shift K, so...
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's definitely could have lifted it and been the new base. But he does have extra command center, so... Yeah. And not the worst thing. Wow, that was like one extra short ports. But Mamuri did hold, and while GuMiho has a bank, it's like the production never quite matches, like, you know, the 40 larva banked up of a Zerg. So he needs a second to calm down, and Mamuri is giving it to him. He's waiting on his Infestors. He doesn't quite feel confident to push off of Creep, of course, too. Because he's not quite sure how many ghosts were rebuilt.
Right.
The answer is actually very few. There's only 3, and they have no energy.
So GuMiho, I was going to mention that before, like very expensive units had exhausted so much getting to that first big insane wave of ghosts. The follow-up to this is strange enough to consider a little more cost-effective to go for these Liberators, especially, again, with starports. But with the Corruptors still in play, it's going to be a bit of a problem. Those upgrades, I guess, are going to benefit. We don't really see this come into play too often, but it might actually help them fight the Corruptors.
Yes, that is true. I mean, with so many Liberators, you can have the opportunity to siege half and not the other, but...
It's just that it's +3 on the Liberators. We see this so rarely, I don't know how that dynamic's going to affect this, because the Corruptors don't have a lot of armor upgrades.
I feel like...
Another Knight is coming to the main. This may be a bit of a problem. Liberator's going to set up over here, though, so maybe not.
If it's Lings... Well, it is 5 Liberators.
Anything that comes out of that's dead. Don't... 5
well,
Liberators.
Lings would come out maybe fast enough, but even then, it's questionable. So he's not even going to bother. 6 Liberators back there, sieging up nothing is probably worth the Knight of Sworn, to be honest.
Yeah, he's bringing units back to deal with it. So just playing... I mean, I really like that he's playing it safe.
Yeah, yeah. So an attack is attempted by Mamuri. He's definitely finding trouble getting more harassment done. That first Knight of Sworn was pretty damn good, but not much else happening here. And GuMiho still has the option to forward expand, where I think Mamuri is having a bit more trouble with that. He takes defensive fights okay, as we saw, but offensive fights are a little trickier.
That's a lot of Liberators coming in now. Corsair's going to hit them, though. Rip.
Yeah, the Corruptors aren't here, however.
I gotta say, this is probably the best game we've seen in Apotheosis so far.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, it's like the best game we've seen from Mamuri. I really didn't think he was gonna be able to match GuMiho so well.
So, this is where I'm not sure where I sit. When you see that many ghosts come into play, it almost feels like trolling. It's not, because it's something you have a necessity. I mean, we saw how well they traded out, right? Ghosts aren't bad units to have. But as we've also seen, GuMiho's not really recovered well off of losing those ghosts either, is the problem.
Yeah. Well, it was very odd of him to drastically change compositions.
Yeah.
From Mass Ghost to Mass Liberator. And while that's almost like you could be like, oh, it's like a tech swap, you know? Like you catch Mamuri off guard, he doesn't have enough Corruptors. That's not... Like, tech swaps are always going to be in favor of the Zerg, just with the larva mechanics, so I don't really buy that. But it's not like it's not working necessarily, but GuMiho is losing overall.
I also want to go into the fact that he's not really playing with a lot of tanks. And right now, from what we've seen over the course of this game, Infestors have been a problem for him. Liberators they're not bad, but tanks are truly what zones out the Infestors more than anything else. And there's a certain degree of logic where, like, you know, tanks really aren't very good against Ultras, Ravagers, or even Roaches in some cases, so why bother going for them? But this late in the game, I mean, again, just referencing the game with GuMiho and, Byun and Snoot yesterday, we saw there just how big of a deal it was for Snoot to have all of his Infestors constantly zoned out by those tanks. I think the same issue kind of comes into play here.
I would have actually really preferred tank Ghost bio over any amount of Liberators, to be honest. Like, the Liberators really have not been that impressive. I think they can be. You know, I've certainly seen games where Liberators, you know, forward siege hop, whatever, and do great, but that hasn't been this game. GuMiho also has never gotten up to the extreme amount of Liberators that he got with those Ghosts, so when push does come to shove, I feel like Corruptors are going to be able to take care of his Liberator count.
He just lost his armory, by the way. Just a side note. There's 3 Lings that I borrowed earlier.
I thought he had another armory. Oh, well, he would have lost it to the Lings in the main.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So, no more armories, but not the biggest deal anymore. I don't think he's not building Hellbats after all. And, the Spore Crawl got a little bit dicey. Picks up, flies away, tries to get out of there. So many Festers nearby, though. Oh my god, if all 4 of those drops died, that'd be GuMiho's. That's half of GuMiho's army right here.
Oh, run. Oh my goodness.
Oh no, this is really bad. This is... Okay, boost. Thank god for that boost cooldown. Left side, we got the Ghosts coming up, just sniping off what they can, but unfortunately kind of wasting the snipes at the end of the day. Liberators sit up above the mining base of Mamuri, who is kind of desperate to be mining in the first place. But man, he needs to unload this army. If he can't get this army unloaded, he's going to lose it.
I mean, Mamuri does need the base to mine from, but that's also a lot of Liberators to give away. It's like, but neither of them are on 4,000 mineral bank, you know? Like, they're banking some, but it is going to be questionable to give away your high-tech units.
The best way to describe it is they both took that adrenaline shot and they're recovering from it now.
Might just slow burn. Yeah. Mamuri has been taking, I feel, better engagements the last 5 minutes.
Ooh, this is gonna be kind of nice. This is like losing those Liberators.
It is, actually. Like, these are very important units, but of course...
He lost this fight. Did he ever rebuild it?
Liberators are down...
Okay,
no, he built it a long time ago. Yeah, he just never had the... He never needed to build more Corruptors. But I was gonna say, if the Liberators went down, the Corruptors are less needed, but... GuMiho sees the Corruptors going down, is like, oh, that's what we make for Liberators.
I love the snipes.
Oh, the SCVs! New!
So the orbital also went down. That was just kind of chilling on that path too, a bit unfortunate because all these orbitals going down. It's less scans. It's also less mules, something you might need going forward with so little workers. Both players are in such a dire economic state, and this game is starting to look a lot similar to that really epic one we played yesterday, and a lot of that has to do with how dire the money situation is on both sides. Pretty big Bioforce though, Sim and 4. Gotta be careful. Fungal Growth's really gonna be the kingmaker, I think, this late in the game.
Yeah. 5 more Liberators are going to be joining this, though, and the Corruptors were never remade. He could remake them, which is why I'm like, oh, be careful. But I think he's really focused on the ground army for now. Got to get those Fungals, but the Ghosts are kind of spread out. Even a couple of Woodamines here will help, and the Concave, obviously great for GuMiho, and I think he did just win here.
Yeah, I really like the Liberators coming in later instead of being sieged up on the front lines. Now, there's not really a lot of Ravagers left, so Corruptors being gone, Ravagers not really in play, the Liberators should be able to siege up, and I really thought the Fungal Growths were going to be what made or break this army.
So close. I actually wonder what would have happened had he had 5 Corruptors in hand. Liberators don't siege up. Maybe he gives up the base instead of tries to defend it, and he might take defensive engagement elsewhere. But timely, woohoo!
That was a great first game. That was an absolutely great first game. So GG's GuMiho takes that first match. Wicked Metal also subs for 6 months. It says, it's about time. Thank you very much for that very Canadian resub. We are going to go to a small 2-minute commercial break, guys, and we'll see you soon for game number 2. My bad, guys. That sneeze snuck up on me as we came back from the break. Oh, pardon me. But we are getting into New Gettysburg for map 2. So I like that we're getting to see some new maps with these guys. New for a lot of you guys. We got to see Apotheosis and the earlier iterations of this in the map contest, however. Felt really proud to be part of that, to be honest. It's kind of cool helping shape StarCraft 2's future.
Oh my goodness.
But alright, folks. As we get into it, just a reminder, this is the Olimoleague. And after this will be the semifinals. We'll cast both of those in the grand finals. As said, nothing about the Olimoleague itself has actually changed, just the start time and the fact that now there's an official Korean broadcast, which is kind of cool. We are working towards hopefully getting towards that end of the year. Hopefully things go well. I would love to go to Korea and cast some stuff live if the cards, I guess, play out that way. But I just really want to stress, like, keep doing what you guys have been doing for the Olimoleague. If you've been supporters of the Patreon, awesome. Keep supporting the Patreon. If you've just been fans of watching it, again, just keep being fans of watching it. And thank you all for tuning in. But as we get into game number 2, he spawns on the bottom right. He's down a game currently. It is going to be the pink Zerg player, Mamuri.
The bottom left as the Red Terran is GuMiho.
So Mamuri, or rather saying his name a bit funny, I guess I'll get into the story afterwards, but just quick note, like, that game was a fantastic match. I think it's safe to say from the times we saw Mamuri, whether it was the 2v2 tournaments or whether it's been the odd times in the Olimoleague, I've never really seen him as a terrible player, but he has always been that guy who was like a round of 16er, not a round of 8er, if you know what I mean. And I just realized this is a new portrait top. I haven't seen this one before. It's the Nova one, I guess.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
It's got cool jets coming out of it. Sorry, ADD. But my point was going to be, well, he did lose to GuMiho. What sucks is that score will not reflect how good that game was.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I definitely agree about the round of 16 thing. Like, he does have really fun games when you get to watch him, and just it's coincidence. Like, it's not like he himself is the most original Zerg player ever, and that's why it's so fun. He just, I don't know, he finds himself in these positions, which is great for him in terms of, I guess, getting a fan base. But unfortunately, not yet really translating to wins. So I really don't know what was up with GuMiho. I'm actually really hesitant to be like, yeah, Mamuri, you were awesome. It was more like GuMiho made really questionable things. Like, almost he thought Mamuri would be easy, so he was like, let me try something a little bit new. and
Maybe.
found himself in a very difficult position 10 minutes later because of it.
Well,
GuMiho does do weird stuff, so it may not be because of his opponent, but
what I
it
found
was Peter
interesting
Karen.
was he did play that style that I think is really good right now. That mid-game Infestor, Ravager, like regardless of giving his opening for just a moment, and there's so many things we could argue butterfly effect on, right? Like had he not done Hellbats, he'd have done blank instead, and that may have gone this direction for the game. But just for what we did see, I loved his reactions. I loved it's like kind of cool to see Koreans copying foreigners for the first time ever, right? Like the tactics applied were good. I think he executed them not poorly. I do think GuMiho shined at the end of the day, but Mamuri has played better in that game than we've seen most average Zergs play. Honestly, you gotta consider we watch people like True and Sulky and others, the ones we expect to do really well, haven't even shown games like that before. So I'm gonna not say Mamuri like carried that game, but I'm also not gonna discredit him by just simply saying like, GuMiho wasn't trying his hardest.
I don't know. Like the Roach Ravager Baneling style was it's very different, but GuMiho is doing kind of the same thing again. Earlier Hellbats.
I love the waves of lings. I really love that he didn't throw these all in at the same time. This easily gets thwarted without a medevac now.
Yeah, it's very questionable attack to do. Basically, if a Hellbat attack doesn't work against someone who doesn't have Banelings or Roaches, then it's always like, why would you do it in the first place? It's like, just Queens can deal with it.
It is an attack, though, where, like, if Mamuri was playing even a little bit greedy, he's dead. I mean, and not just like, oh, you lost a little bit of a scuffle, but you probably lost the game.
Sure. But that's what the Overlord come into effect, so it's questionable as to how often GuMiho even gets wins with this push, because it is a very not dedicated push. Again, like the usual Hellbout attack that we would see that is actually like, oh shit, this could actually end the game, is accompanied by Marines. Not just Hellbats and whatever Reapers he made, which he did make 3, which is, odd, but they didn't really help out that much. So, follows up with a Banshee, and, I mean, I keep on wanting to be like, yeah, maybe mech, because New Gettysburg could also be a mech map, but yeah, he fooled us once last time, so... He's not getting the armory upgrade this time, though, so I'm already still like, okay, I like this build better, even though it did fail. I mean, failure is always a very loose term, because at the end of the day, you got them to build more lings than they wanted and not drones.
Right.
But it did not do direct economic damage or kill any queens. So
it's like every Zerg's dream is just get away with building too many drones.
yeah.
So he's fighting for his life to try and hold on to this expansion. The SCV not being targeted down, but the Hellbats transform behind the mineral line. The Viking lands, and the GuMiho will deal with these lings. And this was perhaps way too much of a dedication. I mean, still 26 more lings coming. Mamuri making mistakes. I mean,
if it was,
he's gonna get like canceled to stall out this command center, but this is not worth losing out on what was possibly 10 or 15 more drones for.
Yeah, even more. I completely agree. I can see this working on, I'm going to throw it out to Desant Station, right? But even like Frozen Temple, a very small map as well, I could certainly see the Ling Flood working. You do have to, it's considered that you did take down their production, and a lot of Terrans do not follow up a Hellbat push with more Hellions. They're swapping reactors and getting in their barracks. So I think 1, different map, this works. 2, different player that doesn't follow up with more Hellions, this works. And maybe even Snowballs. But unfortunately, he just lost out on a lot of droning opportunity. The Banshee also is always going to be that helpful, like, okay, emergency defense, at least I got this much going for me. But again, a Ling Flood would have been hard for a single Banshee to help out with, and that's where the Hellions had to be reduced.
Agreed on that, but that Banshee does have 17 kills at the end of the day, so that was really nice.
She did get to, like, sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's questionable position now. Mamuri did eventually get up to the drone count he wants, 7 more drones on the way, but you consider that all should have been a minute sooner, shall we say? Like, maybe even more, considering the Hellbat attack, too, and, like, the ideal game. And, it's fine for GuMiho. He's saturated on his 3rd base. Upgrades I didn't realize hadn't started, so that's a big plus for GuMiho. And he's gonna go with the vehicle ship plating again. So they do help the medevacs and the Hellbats.
So I really hope my heart doesn't explode.
Are you looking at images again?
No. I love that that's the direction.
So is that the thing you're worrying about exploding? Yeah.
No. So I'm drinking this sugar-free Red Bull, but I also just took like another one of those 5-hour energy things. because I am not waking up. Like, I'm trying so hard to, but I'm just physically not waking up.
I'm very uncomfortable right now. Like I'm like hot, but I'm also like I know if I turn the fan on, I'm gonna be too cold. I drank hot liquid, so I'm sick. But yeah, I thought my heart was gonna burst when I had that nightmare and I woke up in the middle of the night. I hate that feeling. It's like my heart should not be beating this fast, but it is. Am I gonna die? I hope not.
I don't have a regular occurrence of this, but I've had sleep paralysis before. That is like
God,
the
that sounds
scariest
so
feeling.
creepy. Like I've woken up and been stuck in my chair for a person before, but I've never had that like you can't move and your mind is still kind of almost hallucinating. Like I've read on like Reddit. I'm just like, oh no,
No, I would sit there like again like this doesn't happen much, but I remember like I was sitting there telling myself like actually thinking, come on, get up, you can do this, move your arm, do something, you can. Scary, it feels bad, man. All right, Daka is also scary, it feels bad coming out of GuMiho. This is 72 supply to 34. Upgrades are done. And frankly, Mamuri just doesn't have a great response. He threw away way too many links early on. He didn't make enough drones. His economy it all faltered for this, and then he overdroned.
Yeah, he overdroned, and some of his banelings were just out in the middle of nowhere. Lings were rallied into a couple of Hellbats because he wanted to try and get it done early as opposed to waiting for like his roaches, for instance, and more banelings. He was already in a bad position because of all the early game stuff, but I feel like he could have had maybe this like an almost defense. Instead, he's actually just gonna be steamrolled, I think. Not the best split there, so not steamrolled exactly, but still has to deal with a lot, losing his fourth base.
I will give Mamuri credit. He's doing a better job defending this than I thought he would. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's taking some pretty heavy losses.
Gonna continue trying. He lost 19 drones when he was on 82, so it's really just a problem now that he has no fourth base. If he had that not unbeatable, but like really like tough composition of Roach, Ravager, and Fester, I believe in that composition to last a very long time. You don't lose the units, you just keep buying time and then eventually get your fourth base, and that's Gucci, but he's missing infestors. The Ravager count isn't super high, although he's getting more. And of course, he's using a lot of money on Banelings, which worked out okay for him last game, but you gotta consider it's pretty expensive, and he just lost out on a lot.
So remember yesterday when I told that Queen joke, like why the medevac crossed the road?
Did it?
Yeah. Playing Overwatch with Nate last night. He wasn't here for that part of the broadcast, so I tried to bust that joke on him. He guessed it right away. Like, fellow Terran tears.
You might have seen the image.
I don't know about that, but I was just like, fellow Terran tears, man. He knew. His soul knew. I will say, though, I only bring this up, not because I'm being totally random in ADD, but the Queens with that range actually did a pretty good job maneuvering around the army to focus down the Liberators and help push that back. Ultimately, though, it is Ravagers you want doing that job. Corsair Bow's hit, but not enough. And that bio, it's just overwhelming is what it is. No more Banelings to crash into these. Couple hits on the south side to take it back. Not too bad. Paired up with that Widow Mine. Friendly fire really killed a lot of Marines. But that being said, GuMiho's rally continues, and he's got 2-1 advantage now. Even armor upgrades on the ship plating, so the Queens will do less damage to the medevacs, less damage to the Liberators.
Yep. Well, that's just about it. Next series will be the semifinals. Which, are any actually set up yet? No, so maybe waiting a little bit after this, so watch the pretty pictures kill pretty buildings, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure who either of the other players in this top bracket are with Natural or Gills.
Yelzing.
What I'm imagining is Beyond versus Alive for the bottom half.
GG. Yes.
GG.
Yeah.
It would be very astonishing if Sleep beat Beyond. Sleep is really a mid-tier player. Not to speak ill of him, but just from everything we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's gonna send us into waiting for the Korean cast in the semifinals.
Yeah, I think. Well, Beyond's not a game. Hang on. If he just got into a game, maybe we can cast this. Yeah, Apotheosis. Cool. So we'll skip ads and we'll just hop into this so we're not sitting here twiddling our thumbs because I cannot do downtime.
He promoted you to host.
Oh, that was a mistake. Let me pass that off to you. Nice. Okay, so he's playing his first game versus Sleep right now. Awesome.
I wonder, should we tell the Koreans?
Ask Olivia. Let's not just start. I'm gonna play ads then real quick, guys. We'll see you in 2 minutes.